Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya, Vrinda Devi Jaya, Tulsi Maharani Jaya, Vrinda Devi. Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya, Vrinda Devi Jaya, Tulsi Maharani Jaya, Vrinda Devi.
Vrindai Tulsi Devyai Priyai Keshavasya Vishnu Bhakti Purane Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha.
Yasodanandana Prashajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Prashajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Tira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhara Hari Yasodanandana Prashajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Prashajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Goloka Nanda ki jai, Giriraj ki jai, Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pavakatoriya Stotarasta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pavakatoriya Stotarasta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi ki jai. Nam Acharya Sridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavana Dham ki jai. Shri Mathura Dham ki jai. Shri Mayapur Dham ki jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Shri Jagannatha Swami ki jai, Shri Yamuna Mai ki jai, Shri Gange Mai ki jai, Shrimati Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samaveda Bhakti Vrindi ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are continuing our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 46, verse 28. And you have to excuse me for some reason my throat is not cooperating this morning. We'll try our best to be able to speak. Yashodavarna Yamani Putrasa Charitani Cha Shinvati Ashani Abarkshashit Sneha Snuta Payodara Yashoda Varnya Yamani Putrasa Charitani Cha Srinvati Ashuni Avakshakshit Sneha Snuta Payodara Yashoda Varnyamanani Putrasa Charitani Cha Shinvanti Ashukrini Avikshit Sneha Snuta Payodara. Devotees. Shudan Varananyani Putrasya Charitani Cha Shinvanti Ashunyat Ashit Sneha Snuta Payodara Yasoda Varna Yamani Shinvanti Akshanani Akshit Sneha Snuta Payodara Nashoda Vayamamani Putrasya Charitani Cha Sneha Sutta Payodara Yashoda, Mother Yasoda, Varnya Amani, being described, Putrasa, of her son, Charitani, the activities, Cha, and Shrinvanti, as she heard, Ashuni, tears, Avarakshit, poured down, Sneha, out of love, Snuta, moistened, Payodara, her breasts. Translation: as Mother Yashoda heard the description of her son's activities, she poured out her tears, and milk flowed from her breasts out of love. You can repeat. As Mother Yashoda heard the descriptions of her son's activities, she poured out her tears, and milk flowed from her breasts out of love. So there is a purport by the disciples of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Purport: from the very day that Krishna had left for Mathura, Mother Yashoda, though counseled and consoled by hundreds of men and women, could see nothing but the face of her own son. She kept her eyes closed to everyone else and cried constantly. Thus she could not recognize Uddhava, treat him with parental affection, ask him any questions, or give him any message for her son. She was simply overwhelmed with love of Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Srimati Ridananda Goswami Iti Namane. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashatarine. Om Gana Timaranda Sya Gana Gana Shalakaya Shaksu Militanyana Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So here we're getting a view into the heart of Mother Yashoda, who is the emblem of parental affection, Vatsalya affection. And we're going to also be reading the commentaries, but I just wanted to make a quick comment here to bring us up. So we see here, we've been speaking about Krishna leaving Vrindavan and Uddhava going to Vrindavan and to meet with the devotees and to console them. And if you remember, Krishna sent a letter and he told Uddhava, don't say anything to the cowherd boys because they have a spurti of me all the time. They feel that they're always playing with me. They never feel that I'm not with them. So the cowherd boys, they always feel that they're with Krishna. And this does become a problem for them, though, because when everybody goes to Kurukshetra, they're the ones that need to stay back and take care of the cows. But here we see that in each, it's called rasa, in each rasa, there are different ecstatic symptoms that are manifested. And the rasas are very progressive. Like we have Shanta rasa, which is not something that the devotees always aspire for, but still there are living entities in Vrindavan that are worshiping Krishna by offering shade and fruits. But then there is Dasya rasa, which is one of a servant. And in the higher rasas, that rasa is still contained. And then there is Sakya, the friends of Krishna. They feel that they're equal to Krishna. They can, tell Krishna, get on my shoulders. Or they can say, I'm stronger than you. You didn't really lift Govardhan Hill. We all did it. And they'll fight with him in so many ways. And at the same time, they also have dasya, because they're doing all this because they want to give pleasure to Krishna. So everything in Vrindavan wants to give pleasure to Krishna. The trees want to give pleasure to Krishna. The flowers, the insects, the birds, the clouds, everything wants to give pleasure to Krishna. And as we go higher in the rasas, that desire to serve Krishna, that desire to give pleasure to Krishna becomes intensified. And according to one's attachment in the material world, a perverted reflection, according to one's attachment, one will have to suffer. So as we know, this feeling of separation on the spiritual platform is actually ecstatic symptoms. It's not suffering like in the material world. But because of Mother Yasoda's deep, deep attachment to wanting to please Krishna, her deep affection for Krishna, her prema is so high that it appears that she is just completely lost in anything but Krishna. Because her and Krishna become one in heart, not one in a Mayavadi conception, but in heart. So here we see Nanda Baba. He was very busy hearing from Uddhava, and it was very painful for him. It was very painful for him to hear about Krishna and his pastimes, but he had to control himself. I'm Nanda Baba, I'm the father. You know, there's a guest here. Somehow I have to take care of him. So Mother Yasoda, she always took good care of all the guests. She was the topmost pinnacle of the wife of Nanda Baba, who was the head of the cowherds in Vrindavan. And we know when there's a pastime in the early days of the cart demon, that she was very busy making all the arrangements to serve all the guests. So she had the utmost hospitality, was always serving others. But now she was in such deep, deep separation that she was stunned, which is an ecstatic symptom. She was stunned. She couldn't move. Her eyes wanted to see nothing but Krishna. Like we hear the story that when Srimati Radharani first appeared, they thought that she was blind because she wanted her first vision to be that of Krishna. So Yasoda Mai, she only wanted to see Krishna. She was overwhelmed in separation, and she couldn't speak. All she can do was cry, and milk flow from her breasts. So this milk flowing from the breast is an ecstatic symptom that only appears in the Vatsalya relationship. It doesn't appear in the other relationships. So I'm going to go on and read a little bit from Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. Being able to control himself with gravity, Nanda was able to respect Uddhava as a guest in the proper way, to look at him directly, to introduce himself, to ask pertinent questions, and to speak about Krishna's godly qualities. So we know the etiquette is when a guest comes, even if that guest is an enemy, they should be greeted, treated properly, offered a seat, etc. But Yasoda, drowning in the whirlpools of the ocean of unsteadiness, was not able to offer any hospitality. This is expressed in this verse. So her level of prema was so high, and her ecstatic symptoms were so overwhelming, they were uncontrolled ecstatic symptoms, that she was drowning in the whirlpool of the ocean of unsteadiness. Continuously, tears fell from her eyes and milk dripped from her breasts. In spite of hundreds of men and women giving advice to her from the day that Krishna left Mathura, she would just say, I do not want to see anything except the face of my son. So whose heart will not melt when hearing about the love of Mother Yasoda for Krishna? How hard is our heart that it doesn't melt when we hear this love. And this is the mercy of Krishna, that he comes within this world and he enacts his childhood pastimes, these sweet childhood pastimes, to attract the conditioned souls. Tears poured from her closed eyes, soaking her clothing. She cannot ask questions to Uddhava to understand who he was or to make him an object of affection, and cannot give him messages for her son. Her breast, Payodara, flowed with milk out of affection for her son. Payodara also means cloud. Yasoda was like a cloud showering rain of tears or milk. So she was so overwhelmed, she couldn't even see Uddhava. She wasn't even aware of who he was. And her feelings of separation had become so intensified because once Krishna had left, she no longer went in the kitchen. It's explained that the kitchen had spider webs in it. She no longer went in the kitchen. She didn't make any arrangements at all. In fact, Nanda Baba, he had to engage others in making the proper arrangements to treat a guest. And as Uddhava was describing about Krishna, as Nanda Baba was listening, just hearing about Krishna increased the love of Mother Yasoda. And this is actually our process, Junvata, that by submissively hearing from the pure devotees about the pastimes of the Lord, one loses any attraction for anything of this world. Now that seems like really far away for many of us, but the more one hears, the more one becomes attracted to these different personalities. We have so many attachments in this material world to upadis, and those relationships will be a cause of suffering, because no matter how much we care about them or they care about us, the nature of this material world is that we're forced to separate, just like twigs in the river. Just like the other day I was thinking, when it gets near Janmashtami, that how my father left his body on Janmashtami in 2005. I remember very strongly. I had been in Miami. He was in the hospital and I was visiting him. Then I came back here for Janmashtami, and then there was a hurricane, and the next you knew on Prabhupada's appearance day, I was going to Miami. So it's been so many years since he left, And I'll think, my father was here, he was caring for me, now he's gone. So fortunately, Krishna is our father, Krishna is our mother, Krishna is our friend, Krishna is our lover. According to how we relate to Krishna, Krishna will always be there for us. And even if we don't relate to Krishna, Krishna still will always be there for us. It's just a matter of turning towards him. So sometimes I'll go for a walk by the river and at the Poets' Walk, and I'll think about how many different devotees I've walked with down this path. And it's just like the river, the time it goes by, you can't stop it. So the instruction that's given to us by the great sages, and Bear Krishna Maharaj gives us all the time, is don't waste time. We have such a limited amount of time. So how do we fill that time? Through chanting of the holy name. So when I hear about Mother Yasoda's tears, I think my heart is so dry that when I go to chant the holy name, I have no taste. Due to my offenses to Vaishnavas, to Guru, to the holy name, I have no taste. But somehow or other, if I can hear these beautiful pastimes presented by the pure devotees, then my heart will become cleansed. And when I chant the holy name, those tears will flow from my eyes like torrents of rain. Jiva Goswami continues. He says similar, but we want to read. Though Yasoda heard Nanda say that Krishna and Balaram were the best of devatas, she was fixed in thinking of them as her sons. So they were trying to figure out, how did Krishna do all these miraculous things? How did he lift Govardhan Hill? How did he swallow a fire, a forest fire? How did he dance in the head of Kaliya? How did he do all those things? Well, he must be a devata. And she's like, no, he's not a devata. He's my son. The only reason he's able to do anything or he's saved is because Nanda Baba worships Shalagram very nicely. So Narayan is taking care of everything. This is what she's thinking. This is her mood. And being Mother Yasoda, it's just anxiety from the beginning to end. I remember when I first joined the movement, I was told by the temple president, who's sitting here now, that I just wanted peace and liberation, and that there was no peace. I got yelled at all the time. Well, I won't tell anyone about that. But anyway, there's no peace and liberation, And I was thinking, why? I don't want to be in anxiety. I'm already in anxiety. It's like in my DNA to always be in anxiety, to always be worried, So then over the years I learned, if I'm always going to be worried, let me worry about Krishna. let me worry about who's dressing the deities. Are there pins going in his turban? Is he getting the proper boga? Let me worry about what's happening on the altar. Let me worry about the temple. So I just took my anxiety and used it in Krishna's service. And then it became a whole different mood, because then Krishna reciprocates. If we feel anxiety for Krishna, Krishna feels anxiety for us. And he takes care of everything. So Mother Yasoda here, she just wants to think about Krishna. And Uddhava has a really big lesson to learn, a lesson we all have to learn. I'm the disciple of Brihaspati. I'm very well versed in all the Vedic literatures. I'm going to go to Vrindavan and philosophically explain to Nanda Baba and Yasoda the actual position. Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. He's always with you. He's in your heart. And, Mother Yasoda is like, who is this person? I don't want to hear him. She's not interested in anything he has to say. And so he becomes very humbled. I thought that I was the dearest to Krishna. I thought I had the most affection. But this Mother Yasoda, she's breaking my heart. So when we hear about her crying, it breaks our heart. Thus the verse says, Putrasa Charitani, her son's activity showing power. The word cha indicates she heard about his beauty and sweetness as well. The present participle, Vyamani, being narrated, indicates that Nanda started and continued telling the stories without break. So Nanda Maharaj, he was completely absorbed in Harikatha. He was just like, you would have to go there, sit still, and never move. And the katha was just flowing from him. She discharged tears abundantly, dampening her clothing, since she could not speak, inquire, or do anything. This description was also applicable to Nanda and others. Her breast flowed with milk for a long time, indicating her naturally intense affection. So sometimes we see that people, they try to imitate. They have a Bhagavat Saptaha, and someone gives a talk, and then everybody's crying. But these are crocodile tears. This is not like Nanda Maharaj speaking from what he has witnessed, what he has seen, and Mother Yasoda crying out of affection. So that's why we know when we read Krishna book or we hear Srila Prabhupada. I remember I used to listen to the dictation of Krishna book of Srila Prabhupada. It used to be on tapes. And when you hear him speaking, because he's directly seeing those pastimes, it would create that incredible experience within the heart, which gives us faith. Yes, Krishna exists, and he's beautiful, and I can have a relationship with him. Hearing that this was Sanatana Goswami, hearing that her son was a devata, Yasoda could not stop seeing Krishna as her son. Rather, her affection increased. This shows her intense vatsalya. The present tense is used to indicate that just when the descriptions of Krishna began, at that moment she heard. So she was no interest in anything Uddhava was saying, any philosophical discourse. I mean, we should know Siddhanta, but Mother Yasoda was beyond Siddhanta. But as soon as Krishna started being described, then she could hear, because she could only hear and see Krishna. The word chai indicates description of his form and qualities as well. Her breast began to flow with milk. This shows her intense affection. This continued for a long time. Tears flowed out everywhere, dampening her cloth. She could not question, speak, or do anything. Thus, she was different from Nanda. So it's explained that there are different personalities that have this Vatsalya. Nanda Baba, there's the elder gopis in Vrindavan, the mothers, who Krishna was so kind, he'd go and steal milk and butter from their house in order to reciprocate with them. And there's the friends of Nanda. And Nanda's is one of the highest, but higher than Nanda's is Mother Yasoda's affection. And there's so many pastimes that indicate this. We know when Krishna jumped in to dance in the head of the Kaliya serpent, that Yasoda was going to jump in after him, and then she just fainted. She was in so much anxiety, she just fainted. There was no question. And we know when Yasoda looked into the mouth of Krishna and she saw all the different universes, it's like she became dizzy, and then she had to just like relate to him as her dear son. She couldn't relate to Krishna in this mood of Aishwarya. She couldn't even hear of it. And as I was saying before, she was always in anxiety. She was anxiety when the cart fell. The boys tried to say he used his little feet and he knocked down the cart and a demon came out. But there was no hearing of this. No, somehow my son was saved. There's no way that he could have knocked it down. And so she was always doing these rituals with cow tails, and she was saying the names of Narayan and doing all kind of things to protect her son. And Yasoda always wanted Krishna to have the best. So she heard that Radharani, the daughter of Vrishabhanu Maharaj, that she had been given a boon by Durvasa Muni, that whoever had the food that she cooked would live a long life. And so every day she brought Radharani and her friends to come and cook for Krishna, so Krishna would be happy. So Yasoda, the parental, they're not so involved in the conjugal, but at the same time, Yasoda always wanted Krishna to marry Radharani. Yasoda had great love for Radharani, and she always wanted Krishna to marry Radharani. And we will see, here we see this Vatsalya prema, which is so high, and we know, like in the Ramanatha Samvada, it talks about the different relationships. But then we'll come to the next chapter when they come to Radharani and the bee, and we'll see even more madness. So that these different experiences go up within the different relationships, and they're contained in them, except this flowing of milk is unique to the Vatsalya, to the cowherd ladies. So I just wanted to read a little bit. I always like to hear from Srila Prabhupada when I'm giving a class and beg him to somehow speak through me. And the only way I can have him speak to me is to read his words. So Prabhupada says in Nectar Devotion, chapter 43, Parenthood. I was first going to read from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami, with the commentaries, and it has the elaborate descriptions of all the different rasas, which we've spoken about in class, but we don't really have time for that, so I'll just stick with this. When ecstatic love develops into the relationship of parenthood and becomes steadily established, the relationship is called Vatsalya Rasa. The exhibition of this Vatsalya Rasa standard of devotional service can be found in the dealings of Krishna with his devotees, who represent themselves as superior personalities like father, mother, and teacher. So Mother Yasoda, in this rasa, it's her duty to train Krishna. We don't want him to grow up to be a delinquent, stealing. So she has to train him. She has to bind him with a rope when he misbehaves. And by that binding, their hearts become bound in affection. And also we see that she feels it's her duty to arrange for his protection. Learned scholars have described the impetus for parental love for Krishna existing in the elderly personalities or in relation with him as follows. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose bodily complexion is just like a bluish, new-grown lotus flower, whose body is very delicate, and whose lotus eyes are surrounded by scattered hair as black as bees, was walking on the streets in Vrindavan. When Mother Yasoda, the beloved wife of Nanda Maharaj, saw him, immediately the milk began to flow from her breast, soaking her body. Some specific provocations for parental love of Krishna are listed as his blackish bodily hue, which is very attractive and pleasing to see, his all auspicious bodily features, his mildness, his sweet words, his simplicity, his shyness, his humility, his constant readiness to offer respect to the elderly, and his charity. All these qualities are considered ecstatic provocations for parental love. Mother Yasoda, when Krishna started going out to herd the cows and the calves, all day long she would be singing his glories, and she would be putting aside special milk to make the things that were dear to him. And then she would be feeling separation. Just when he went out to herd the cows, she felt so much separation. So what to speak when he went to Mathura? And she was very upset with Nanda Maharaj when he came back. And he didn't bring Krishna. She's extremely upset with him. And the same way, when Krishna was upset with Mother Yasoda for tying him up and wouldn't go to her for milk, Mother Yasoda went in her room, was fasting and going to give up her life. So strong is his affection between Krishna and Yasoda. So strong. And then when Krishna heard that Mother Yasoda was suffering in that way, then he came and jumped in her lap. So Krishna's there in Mathura. He's not hard-hearted. He's feeling that reciprocal. Mother Yasoda is missing him and crying, and he's crying for his mother. When he received his Brahmin thread, and Devaki gave it to him, he didn't want it from Devaki. He wanted it from Yasoda Mai. Yasoda Mai was his real mother. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 8th chapter, verse 45, it is stated by Sukadeva Goswami that Mother Yasoda accepted the Lord Krishna as her son, although he is accepted in the Vedas as the king of heaven, in the Upanishads as the impersonal Brahman, in philosophy as the supreme male, by yogis as the super soul, and by the devotees as the supreme personality of Godhead. Once Mother Yasoda addressed one of her friends in this way, Nanda Maharaj, the leader of the cowherd men, worshipped Lord Vishnu along with me, and as a result of this worship, Krishna has been saved from the clutches of Putana and other demons. The twin Arjuna trees were, of course, broken due to a strong wind, and although Krishna appeared to have lifted Govardhan Hill along with Balaram, I think that Nanda Maharaj actually held the mountain. Otherwise, how could it have been possible for a little boy to lift such a great hill? So Mother Yasoda, even as Krishna grows up, she still sees him as being very young. We know there's the Pushti Marg, Sampradaya from Balabhacharya. They worship Krishna as a young boy. And if you ever go to one of their temples, they have Krishna with his hand up lifting Govardhan Hill. And also they have like little spinning toys and tops. And they have a silver swing to swing him. There's that mood of Vatsalya, affection. This is another example of ecstasy in parental love. This kind of parental love is generated in a devotee out of his conviction and love that he himself is superior to Krishna, and that without being taken care of by such a devotee, Krishna could not possibly live. So she's thinking, Krishna's gone to Mathura. He's a cowherd boy. They're not going to have the same kind of milk there that we have here. Who's going to make the same kind of cheese and curd? Who's going to cook things just the way he likes it? Maybe they're starving him there in Mathura. So her separation, I'm adding a little of my own in, I have to admit it, but if we meditate on what is her mood, her mood is to just serve Krishna. She's not like, woe is me, Krishna's gone, and that's why I'm miserable. But it's like, Krishna's gone and I can't serve him. I can't see his beautiful face. His beautiful face at his impetus for seva. One devotee therefore prayed to the parents of Lord Krishna as follows: let me take shelter of the elderly parental devotees of Lord Krishna. They are always anxious to serve Krishna and to maintain him, and they are always so kind to him. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto them for being so kind to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is a parent of the whole universe. So thank you very much for listening. It's so sweet. No.
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Enam Kanvandam Maravindanalayataksham Varhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandar Agom Vikamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Asa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Pasyanti Panti Kayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham
Bhajami Govindam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Mutale Chimate Bhaktivedanta Dhamminichi Namane Saraswati Devi Mauravani Pacha Nene Visesha Sanyavadi Ashachahane Zatarane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasati Nobhakta Vrindaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Bodhichatnanda Gadada Sivasati Bhakta Vrindaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gadada Sivasati Bhakta Vrindaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ramanityananda Advaita Gadadhara Srivasade Om Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ramanityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasade Om Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ramanityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasade Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Krishna Jai Radha Hare Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Srivasade Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Gati Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare Jaya Radha Goloka Nana Rama Goloka Nana Radhe Jaya Sri Radhe Jai Om Vishnu Pad
Jaitodarpanamarjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vijavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipanam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bhavadani Sarva Shakti Tadrapita Smaranena Kala Etad Drishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjanina Anuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhakti Rohitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhuvam Buddha Kripayata Vapada Pankaja Stita Duli Sajashimpa Chintaya Nayanam Galashudaraya Vadadam Gadgada Hridaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukadas Tavanama Grahaneva Vishyati Yugayatam Nimishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jigat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishya Vapadam Ratam Panastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatava Vidadatu Lampato Mat Prananatastu Saeva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and his life. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benedictions living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us easily approach you by your holy name, and I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street, or tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense, faults, or cheat, and should be ready to offer all to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally.